Let's start with the last two commits in the door, both at the wide receiver position. We've got Marcus Harris out of California, Mater Dei High School, of course, famous for producing NFL-type talent. Emmanuel Choice, a little bit further down the list of wide receivers, but still pretty prized commodity out of Lancaster.
Yeah, Mark, those are two big pickups for Emitt Jones, who has just done a phenomenal job on the recruiting end of things since joining Oklahoma's staff near a year and a half ago. He was hired in January of 2023, and really ever since, he's been tremendous as a recruiter. The addition of Marcus Harris was super interesting because Oklahoma really wasn't involved in that recruitment for the longest time, at least not ostensibly. He had visited in September of 2022. Unofficially, when he was just a sophomore in high school. But he had not been back to Oklahoma since that time when he took his official visit earlier this month. He had dropped a top 5 that did not include Oklahoma. Emitt Jones came to the decision that, you know what, I'm going to make a run at this kid late in the process, and that's exactly what Oklahoma did. He didn't get his official visit booked until the day before he showed up, so it all came together very spur of the moment, very late in the process, but he got on campus, loved it. He committed before leaving, and obviously I think what Oklahoma fans are now expecting later today is a commitment from 4-star 2026 quarterback Jaden O'Neal from Harbor City, California. He was on the visit with Marcus Harris. Those two go back a long way, and so of course, we won't know until the decision comes down, but the expectation for some time has been that Jaden O'Neal is going to be a Sooner, and I know that having him there in town and connecting with Marcus Harris certainly increased Harris's level of comfort in what he'd be getting himself into at Oklahoma, with O'Neal presumably coming down the chute as well for the Sooners. And then Emmanuel Choice, you mentioned, I love this kid. And Emitt Jones was the very first to offer him a scholarship, as a matter of fact. It's not often that Oklahoma will be the first scholarship offer for a prospect, but they were his first offer back in May of 2023. As it stands today, he's got standing offers from 34 FBS institutions. So Emitt Jones knew what he was looking at before anybody else did with Manny Choice, and Choice himself really valued that from Emitt Jones, valued the fact that he was the first to see the potential, that he wasn't really deterred, because Emitt Jones came from Texas Tech. At Texas Tech, if you're the first school to offer a kid that doesn't yet have any FBS interest, that's almost the expectation. Texas Tech is famous for being the first to offer kids in the state of Texas, especially, and being early on their evaluations because they kind of have to be. Oklahoma is afforded a little bit more luxury in that department, in that they don't have to eval a kid early typically to be able to have a solid shot at his commitment. And so you really don't need to be scouring the Lone Star State, or any state for that matter, for kids that have not yet picked up FBS scholarship offers yet. That's exactly what Emitt Jones was doing. He ran across Manny Choice and now ends up winning out over TCU, over USC, over Texas A&M, Texas, Missouri. There were schools all over the country that wanted this kid. I love his potential, love his ceiling. He's 6'4", and you'll find very few guys that are 6'4" that move as naturally and as fluidly as he does. So he's only a 3-star right now, but I think that's a kid that could have a very, very successful and very productive collegiate career if developed properly in a system like Oklahoma's.
When in doubt, folks, check the offers out. The rankings, there can be a large disparity between the 3 major services. Check out the offers. And again, with an entire season to be played in high school football, those rankings can change considerably as well. Any other names out there that seem to be leaning in Oklahoma's direction, or that they want to be pulling in their direction?
Well, I mentioned Jaden O'Neal. I think that one goes Oklahoma's way later today. They're closing in on a pledge from 4-star Weatherford, Oklahoma defensive end CJ Nixon. That one is expected to become official here pretty shortly as well. So that's another one that OU fans are actively waiting on. They made a big surge at the Champ U barbecue with 4-star edge rusher Max Granville out of the Houston area, who to that point, the intel favored Texas A&M. And Penn State, USC were also actively involved there, but Oklahoma got the last OV, really made it count. And then moreover, they're I guess, in a holding pattern with the top prospect in the state of North Dakota, Cade Petchak. He took official visits to Wisconsin on May 31st, Oklahoma on June 7th, Nebraska on June 14th, and Kansas State just this past weekend, June 21st. So the Sooners are expecting his commitment. When that comes down, I'm not exactly sure, but that is expected to take place, and it shouldn't be too much longer. So the Sooners have 17 verbal commits right now as we stand here on June 24th. That number could creep as high as 19 or even 20 by the end of the month of June.
Parker, we're into 3 recruiting cycles with Brent Venables. I'm guessing we had about 5 to 6 with Lincoln Riley. If we put those offers, those targets, those signees, the map down, the list of players, the rankings, is there any discernible difference in the approach, the level of player, the part of the country, anything like that?
No, there certainly is. And, I think what Venables has demonstrated is a couple of things. One, it's almost, and it's almost kind of paradoxical the way that this has played out, but you've seen an increased emphasis on local recruiting, Oklahoma and Texas specifically, because DFW is just 2 hours south of Norman. So right across the Red River there, Oklahoma recruits very heavily from DFW and the rest of the state of Texas. Oklahoma and Texas is really the lifeblood for Oklahoma on the recruiting trail. And that's Venables' mission, is to make it the lifeblood. But we're also seeing him pull prospects from places that Lincoln Riley nor any other Oklahoma coach in the recent past, Bob Stoops, John Blake, whoever, you're seeing him pull players from states that none of those coaches ever touched, like North Dakota, for instance. They signed a player from the state of Minnesota last year in highly coveted defensive end Wyatt Gilmore. They've signed several players in recent years from the state of Washington. They've gone to Nebraska, a state that they hadn't touched in almost half a century. They've gone to Colorado. They've gone all the way up to New Jersey in some cases. And so you're seeing Brent Venables take the Oklahoma brand to places that it has not yet, or I should say not historically been on the recruiting trail, but you're still seeing the nucleus of Oklahoma's recruiting classes come from that local radius, Oklahoma and Texas. So in terms of philosophy, that's the major shift in my mind. And then also, I think the one thing that stands out about Venables' recruiting, and this was kind of expected when he took over, Lincoln Riley was very famous for signing incredible skill position players, some of the top skill position offensive players in the country. On the defensive side of the ball was where things kind of lagged behind. And Venables, in no small part because of the core of assistants that he has compiled at Oklahoma, has demonstrated an ability to recruit both sides of the ball with equal aplomb. And you see a ton of balance in the first 3 classes that he has assembled at the University of Oklahoma. You're seeing them recruit the secondary very well, the defensive line very well. Obviously, Brent Venables is going to recruit linebackers at a high level. Bill Bedenbaugh is one of the top offensive line coaches in the country. He's always going to get some big boys up front that are capable of getting on the field early and being future NFL mainstays. At Oklahoma, the lineage and the great tradition at the quarterback position means you will always have quarterbacks that want to come wear the crimson and cream. And then wide receivers and running backs, you've got DeMarco Murray and you've got Emitt Jones, 2 of the absolute best in the nation with their positions. There's no weakness in recruiting right now as far as any singular position group is concerned for Oklahoma. And that is a dynamic that these fans are certainly enjoying.
We've got Parker Thune on the line. We appreciate Parker stopping by on a regular basis. Catch the Daily Dose, though, on KREF Sports Monday through Friday, noon to 3 Central Time, and OU Insider on Rivals.